Hello dear students, we have started the design of flat slab and in this session we'll learn about the IS clauses and IS recommendation for the designing of the flat slab. As we know, uh, we have discussed in the last session that the flat slab is to be designed according to its strips, that is column strip, middle strip and panel. Okay, so we have to design this column strip, middle strip and panel separately, and accordingly there are the clauses in the IS code for this uh, thickness requirement, for shear in the flat slab and for the bending moment distribution in the flat slab. So bending moment distribution in the flat slab plays the important role in the design of the flat slab. Okay, and for this uh, design of the flat slab we have to use IS 456 2000. Okay, so everybody has this IS code, and please go through the clauses, that is from clause 31 4.3, clause number 31.4.4 likewise. Okay, so we get the particular clauses in the IS 456. So we'll start with the analysis of the flat slab. So before starting the analysis of the flat slab, we have to consider, uh, obviously we'll have a continuous slab. Okay, so in the previous year or in the previous semesters we have learned a single panels, we have designed and analyzed a single panel slab, but here we are going to analyze a continuous flat slab. So accordingly movements will change. So steps for the analysis of flat slabs are, we have to first determine, in every analysis we have to go for the movement. Okay, but here in the flat slab we have to go for the positive movement and negative movement. We have to take care of the both the movements which are occurring in the section, that is we have to take care of positive design movement or factored negative movement and factor positive movement. Okay, the values of negative mu, that is values of factored mu is obviously ultimate movement, and negative is calculated at the face of the column, and the value of mu plus are calculated at the spans. Okay, this is main important term. Okay, negative movement is calculated at the faces of column, and positive movement is will calculated at the spans. Okay, so this just keep this diagram in a fixed in your mind, that we are going to calculate negative movement at the face of column and positive movement at the spans. Then distribute, then how, what will be the quantification or what will be the amount of that particular movement. So it is the total design movement mt in a panel is to be distributed into positive movement and negative movement as specified. uh, Now here we are supposed to consider this positive movement. Okay, this positive movement and these negative movements. Okay, now here what will be the change, that is movement in the column strip. This MUCS means movement in the column strip. This is column strip, CS is the column strip. Okay, and then the movement in the column, the movement in the middle strip shall be the difference between panel and column movements. Okay, obviously movement in the column strip, I'll show you here. This movement in the column strip is the difference between panel and column strip movements. The positive and negative movements are to be distributed in the members accordingly. Then for the middle strip, The portion of the design movement is not registered by column strip will be taken care by the adjacent middle strip. So whatever movement which is left or which has not taken care by the column strip, that will be taken care by the middle strip. Okay, the portion of the each middle strip should be proportion to resist the sum of the movements assigned to its two half middle strips. Okay, that's why now just look at this diagram very carefully. There is one column strip. Okay, so whatever the movement will be there which is to be generated in the column strip, that will be taken care by this positive negative column strip movement. Then what about the middle strip? Okay, so middle strip will distribute half of the movement adjacent to this column strip. Okay, that's why here they have mentioned half movements, half the movement of the strip. Okay, ms half. Understood? And what about the movement in columns? The movement in column is determined as per IS clause 31.4.5.1. So we'll see that what is the criteria for that. Okay, is this is understood? So we are going to basically derive for the column strip movement and the middle strip movement and and the movements in the column. And for movement calculation of movement in column, we are going to do it with the IS clause number 31.4.5.1 and 5.2. Okay, so these two clauses we'll see. Now once we calculate the movements on the in the column strip and middle strip, then we'll go for the design movements per width of the column strip and middle strip. Okay, then codal provision for the flat slab, that is first one is for thickness of the slab. Okay, so for the calculation of thickness of the slab, we have to use IS 456-2000 clause number 31.2.1. okay, the span to effective depth ratio of a flat slab long span are to be considered. For slabs without drop panel, the span to effective depth ratio shall be multiplied by 0.9. This is very important part here, shall be multiplied by 0.9. The span to effective depth ratio for a flat slab long span shall be considered. For a slabs without drop panel, the span to effective depth ratios shall be multiplied by 0.9, and this can be asked for the multiple choice question. Okay, then the value of effective depth by the value of L by D shall be modified as per depending on the area of the tension required. The area of tension steel shall be calculated by taking the average percentage of steel across the whole width of panel. Okay, and the minimum thickness of the flat slab shall not be less than 125 mm. This is very important value, that is the minimum thickness of the flat slab shall be 125 mm. Okay, now so this is regarding to the thickness of the flat slab. Then there is separate thickness criteria clause for a drop panel and for a column head. Okay, so the drop should be rectangular in plan and have a length in the direction not less than 1/3 of the panel length in that direction. Okay, so for exterior panels, the width of the drops at right angles to non-continuous edge measured from the center line of the column shall be equal to 1/2 the width of the drop for the interior panels. So what does it means? The size of drop, so this type of drop, So this is the slab over there, and we are talking about this drop size. Okay, so the size of drop should be, for interior panel it is length in the direction, length in that direction, that is 1/3 into length in the other direction, that is divided by 1/3. So L1 by 3 into L2 by 3. L1 is the length in the parallel direction and L2 is the length in the perpendicular direction. Okay, this is for interior panel. And for external panel, the width of drop perpendicular to discontinuous edge from the center line of column, that is, it is taken as 1/2 into width of drop panel for interior panels. Okay, the thickness of drop shall not be less than 1/4 of the thickness of slab. Right. Okay, then moving towards the thickness criteria for column head or column capital, the diameter of column head is usually about 1/4 to 1/5 of the average span length between the columns. The function of column head is to strengthen the slab against the punching shear. When the column heads are provided, the portion of column head which lies within the largest right circular cone and vertex angle of 90 degree can be included entirely within the angles of the column and column head and shall be considered for design purpose. Now there are some diagrams. I will show that first. Okay, so these are that particular diagrams what we have just seen for the thickness of the slab. Okay, so first diagram is for a slab without drop and column and without column head. Okay, then this diagram is for slab with a drop and column and with column head. Okay, so this is drop, this is column head. Okay, and the next diagram is the slab without drop and column with a column head. So this is column head and this is without drop, this part is without drop. So what does the drop means? So here we have a particular drop. Okay, the critical section for shear adjacent to drop. Okay, so just see this critical section criteria, it is obviously at a distance d by 2 for the both the for all the three cases. Okay, this drop angle shall be taken as 90 degree. Okay, and critical section for shear immediately adjacent to column. So this is the critical section for shear immediately adjacent to column. Here critical section for shear. And what they have mentioned here, any concrete in this area shall be neglected in the calculation. So any concrete in this area shall be neglected for the in the calculations. Okay, so whatever we have seen for this is shown these diagrams. Then so there are two methods of the analysis and design of the flat slab. First one is direct design method and second one is equivalent frame method. So both the methods are there in the IS clauses. Direct design method is in clause 31.4 and equivalent frame method is in clause 31.5. Now both the methods has its own advantages and own disadvantages. So we'll see here which method is better and which method gives us the accurate calculations and the feasibility in the construction and cost. Okay, so direct design method is applicable to a given flat slab system if it satisfies the following conditions. there shall be minimum 3 continuous spans in each direction. Okay, so this is the first case for the design by the direct design method. Okay, then the panel shall be rectangular and the ratio of longer span to shorter span within the panel shall not be greater than 2. Then it shall be permissible to offset column to a maximum of 10% of a span in the direction of offset not standing in the provision B. Okay, so these three criteria, if any flat slab follows these three criteria, then we'll go for a direct design method. I will repeat once again. There shall be minimum 3 continuous spans in the each direction, and second criteria is the panel shall be rectangular and the ratio of longer span to shorter span within a panel shall not be greater than 2.2. Okay, and it shall be permissible to offset column to a maximum of 10% of a span in the direction of offset not standing in provision 2, and the design live load shall not exceed 3 times the design dead load. So, and the design live load shall not exceed 3 times the design dead load. So these are the criteria if we have to design by the direct design method. And design next, and basically generally we'll go for design by using direct design method, because equivalent area method has equivalent frame method has its own disadvantages. So for our syllabus also we have direct design method. Okay, so directly we'll see the design steps for this direct design method. So check for preliminary dimension, then check for application of dead load and live load movements. Okay, then divide the slab frame in x and y directions and obtain dimensions in x and y frames. Then analyze the interior and external panel. So first of all, the basic step is we have to check for preliminary dimension that we have seen here as for the thickness of slab criteria. Then we have to go for dead load and live load movements. Then we are going to distribute the slabs in internal panels and external panels. Okay, that according to that analyze the interior and exterior panels. Then longitudinal distribution and transverse distribution of the steels. Then distribution of the loads first of all, then estimate the design moment in external column, similarly in internal column, then design of shear if it is weak in shear, and detailing should be done as per the code requirement. So these are the steps in the design of the flat slab. So these clauses are for design of shear. So these are the critical sections. Okay, so accordingly we are supposed to design if we got any type of section like this. Okay, and obviously the critical section for shear shall be at a distance of d by 2 from the periphery of column or capital column capital drop. So you can see everywhere it is d by 2 distance. And this slab with a column head has a 2 critical sections like this. So while designing shear reinforcement, the shear stress carried by concrete shall be assumed as a 0.5 tau c, and the reinforcement shall carry the remaining shear stress. Okay, so concrete shall be carrying 0.5 tau c. Tau c is the shear stress, okay, and the remaining of the shear stress will be carried by the reinforcement, and the shear reinforcement should be provided in the section where shear stress does not exceed 0.5 tau c. Okay, only in this case we will go for the design of shear reinforcement when the shear stress does not exceed 0.5 tau c. Okay, so these are the criteria for the shear. Now we'll see here what is punching shear. So it will happen like this. So we get cracks like this pattern. Okay. So to avoid that type of cracks, we'll go for a punching shear reinforcement, and the arrangement of the steel is like this. What is the conclusion and what is the difference that in the normal our one way two way slab and design of a flat slab is the as per Indian IS code we are using cube strength, but in international standards cylinders are used which gives higher strength than the cube. Okay, this is very important thing. We generally do for a cube strength. Okay, so if you have to check for the compressive strength of concrete or tensile strength of concrete, okay, then we'll cast the cubes 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter dimensions, and then we'll go for the tests on that cubes. But international standards are international standards use cylinders because they give higher strength than the cubes. Drops are important criteria in increasing shear strength of the slab. Okay, enhance resistance to punching failure at the junction of the concrete slab and column. By incorporating heads in the slab, we are increasing rigidity of slab. The interior span, the total design moments M0 and negative moment section shall be designed to resist the larger of the two interior negative design moments for the span framing into column support. So obviously we'll go for the larger movement and we'll design for that larger movement. According to Indian standards, for RCC they recommend characteristic strength of concrete as 20, 25, 30 and above 30 for high strength concrete. Okay, M20, M25, M30, M35 like this, and if it is above the M30 then it will be high strength concrete. Okay, for design purpose strength of concrete, for design purpose, the strength of concrete is taken as 2/3 of the actual strength. This is to compensate the difference between cube strength and actual strength of concrete in the structure. After that, we apply factor of safety of 1.5. Okay. So in practice, Indian standard actually we use 46% of the total concrete characteristic strength, while in international practice is to take 85% of the total strength achieved by test and then apply factor of safety for the same as Indian standard. So in actually they use 57% of the actual strength. Okay, we use 46% and they use 57% of the total strength. Prefabricated sections to be integrated uh, for the design for use of the construction. So prefab structures are nowadays are becoming more popular. So these are the references that I have used. Okay, and for this as I have told you, for analysis and design of pre-stressed concrete, you use the or you refer the book by uh, by N Krishna Raju. Okay, I have uploaded the same book in the Google Classroom. And for this design of flat slab, you use or refer the Advanced Reinforced Concrete Design book by PC Varghese, or or it is Limit State Design of Reinforced Concrete by AK Jain. These two books are really good for the design and analysis of the flat slab. Okay. So these are some pictures. Okay. Thank you. If you have any doubt, then directly contact me, and in the next lecture, we'll directly take one numerical and we'll design that flat slab. Okay. Thank you.